Give me a second. We're gonna talk about some front squats today. Keeping it light, keeping it airy. I'm wearing my animal shirt for front squats today. Y'all gonna get a good understanding of why here soon. All right, so front squats. I love front squats. It's actually probably my so like squat, getting split squats, then front squats. Those are my squat accessory favorite. But so we're gonna go over this. Now, the ultimate benefit of front squats is it changes where, by placing the barbell in front of you, it changes where the center of gravity is gonna be, allowing the barbell to be over the midpoint of your foot, but also forcing you to keep a more upright torso, driving in more direct stimulation off of your quads, changing how you squat essentially, and changing the way it's different from a back squat in that it changes where the overall load gets the direct drive line of power. Now, if we're looking at it, now there's a couple of different things that I really like about front squats, but I'm gonna go through a couple of people who had a big influence on my love for actual front squats. The first being Dan John, coach, former shot putter, track and field coach, and just, famous dude. If you were on T Nation for a long period of time, you saw all his articles. But I remember at one point, there's two articles that stick out. One was when he was talking about doing it every day. If it's important, do it every day. Now, for most athletic endeavors, front squats is a very great carryover, especially for sports like track and field or football, Olympic lifting, of course. But the thing is, it works on the athletic position, considering you're more likely to be more upright and not bent over in whatever sport you do. Two, it allows you to generate more power, but it also puts you in a better position to actually train your jump mechanics, for vertical jump and things like that. Third, it will be, when you're looking at it, it actually builds up more of the, again, athletic driven muscles, including the abdominals, the core area, I hate that fucking thing. But anyways, your core, hip flexors, and as well as your mobility. Not as much as the overhead squat, which is actually the most mobility dominated squat variation. However, due to the lack of load that's allowed in the overhead squat, that's why I put the front squat over the overhead squats, because quite frankly, you must be able to develop more power, more strength. I'm gonna get a little bit more into that in a little bit, because part of the reason I'm wearing the shirt. Now, when you're looking at the actual front squat, and like Dan John pointed out, that's a basic movement that you can do at a low load, do it consistently, and you're gonna create a more athletic version of yourself, a more mobile version of yourself, and a more strong and stable version of yourself. Because you're going to work on the three basics of overall strength, mobility, and power in a whole unit fashion. Now, when we're looking at it going forward after that, so oftentimes when we go to the next person that's on my list, we're going to talk about Sam Bird, Animal. He was one of the major contributors to Animal being what Animal is at one point, because Sam Bird, arguably one of the greatest pound for pound squatters of all time. He's also from the Memphis area. He's going to the University of Memphis at the time when I was, in high school, and I was really into like lifting by then. But he was also now. I read every single journal, everything he posted on any forum, because like at the time we didn't have all this social media stuff. All powerlifters, all lifters, everybody that was competitive was on the forum. Bodybuilders were on forums. We all posted our workouts and we talked about what we were training. But also you got to see some of the best lifters in the world sharing what they're doing. Hey Maria, Juanito is talking about powerlifting and lifting big weights. My favorite thing in the world. So, but like I was saying, everybody was on him. Well, Sam at the time was squatting ridiculous weights. Everywhere you looked, he was squatting something just insane. Well, in his training was completely different. So what he had done was he had taken Dr. Squat, first man to squat 1,000 pounds, Fred Hatterfield's approach to the cat method, and he believed on his first day of the week he squatted, but he squatted for speed. So like generally he'd be squatting 55, 65%, up to like 70% when he got closer to competitions. But his actual back squat day was pretty light, and it was just like 5 for 5, 5 by 5s, and get through it as fast as possible. Get as much speed and as much power in that workout, and try to get through that 5 by 5 in under 15 minutes, in under 10 minutes. When you could get it in under 10 minutes, go up and wait. If you were still too slow, if you slowed down, all right, stick at that weight the next week. Like it was basic, it was simple. You go through it, you kill it. If you slow down, okay, I'm not strong enough to go up yet, and you keep it that way. Most top lifters, you'll find that that's exactly how their training was done. Especially when you look at the old training journals, you'll see a lot of people. It was, hey, I train at this level, and I push it, I push it, I push it. When I saw myself backing off, then that's when it was time to stop. That's when I backed off. All right. But Sam's actual squat day, his back squat day, was his light day. It was for speed. It was first thing he trained every week. He loves squats. But his second day, his second leg day, his strength day, he focused on one lift, front squats. The bigger the front squat, the better. And he tried to drive it up. He would do heavy triples, heavy doubles, heavy singles. But generally it was heavy triples and doubles. And we're talking, he worked up his front squat 600-700 pounds. It was ridiculous. But you know what? He's also 220 pounds, squatting 900 pounds. He held the squat record for almost 10, 15 years before it was just broken. We won't discuss that. Because there's a lot of controversy around it. We won't talk about it. Next thing, but what we will talk about is this part though. My other favorite part about this. So, what he did after he did his front squats was a thing that other people don't talk about. He went and he actually did high rep, high volume hack squats on a hack squat machine. Almost the identical movement of the front squat, in that you keep that same plane of motion. Again, keeping the power all generating from those quads and working at the same time, because you're working through deeper mobility. Because in this front squat, you get more mobilization out of the leg muscles. Well, what ended up happening is, so like when you saw Sam's thighs front to back, they were thick. But he trained that movement until he got it so perfect. When you actually saw his squat, it looked like a front squat. Even his back squat, it looked almost identical. But he made it into a perfect repetition every time. And so when he put on a squat suit and he squatted 1,022, it was insane, because he was the smallest person to ever do it at the time. Like, he was putting up crazy squat numbers because he developed his squat through enforcing two things. One, he built up his quads in order to take the heaviest possible load on the way down. You have to understand, your quads are what are your braking force. So like the more weight your quads can take, the more weight you can lower. Understand that's important, because the muscles that drive your squat out of the hole are all on the back. And that's when you see Louis Simmons and those guys talk about your posterior chain. You know, your glutes, hamstrings, you know, your power drive muscles. Everybody says that those are the most important. However, when you look at Sam Bird's deadlift, his deadlift was trash. Like he literally deadlifted like 600 pounds. Like I think that was a PR. I think he may have hit 700. How like period. He knew it. He tried everything to get it to improve. He just couldn't. And thus, when you look at his squat, though, squat was almost immaculate. Well, scratch it. His squat was immaculate. His squat was perfect. His massive hamstrings were built from his squat, from his front squat. And it's all through that range of motion and allowing as much power to be generated as possible on that whole stretch reflex as you lower into the squat, which is then carried over into your back squat. Something, again, people often get confused or they lose track of. And then that's why, like, you'll see a lot of people, honestly, I see a lot of people squat high because they've never actually worked at that mobility, that range of motion or mobility. Um, and then, if you think it's crazy, it's one of the biggest contributors. You can even look at someone like Dan Green. He'll tell you Sam Bird had the biggest influence on his squat. There's several lifters that you can go look at, and they will tell you how Sam Bird and his front squat influenced their squat. Now, the next part that I want you to think about is like, so what you should look at is how can you incorporate a front squat into your training. Now, I'm not saying that you have to front squat. There are a couple of good, really cool alternatives. One movement that I really like that's not quite a front squat, but it allows you to kind of play with it, would be safety bar squats. Even if you get safety bar front squats, if you're just not comfortable with front squat. It's a great movement. It's a great way to, again, work that plane of motion and work in that vertical upright position. And it's going to really tax those abdominal muscles and tax that power box, that ability to keep that the you want to make your torso like a battering ram. You want to make it like a strong battering ram. Because the stronger that midsection is, the stronger you're going to be able to stay upright. And that's the other upside to safety bar and front squats. They build up your upper back and your lat in order for you to keep upright. That's actually what keeps you from collapsing just as much as your abdominals. Increasing the strength of your upper back and those lat muscles to stay upright, when you go down into the hole, it keeps you from collapsing and falling forward. This means more weight can be lifted. This means more power can be generated from the glutes and hamstrings. This means that you have a better overall squat. Again, you have to look at your exercises and understand what they are accessorizing. What are they influencing and how are they making it better? Now, another exercise I really like that could be, that should be in your program if you can't do a front squat, don't have access to a safety bar, another great exercise is just a good old goblet squat. Take a dumbbell, hold it up in the goblet position. Again, we're trying to work that range of motion. And again, you can do this exercise, even though you can't go as heavy, you can do this for high reps, high volume. Again, like I said, Sam Bird was doing sets of 10, 20 reps, 25 reps in the hack squat. If you have access to a hack squat, high volume accessory work on the hack squat. Working up to trying to get as heavy as possible for as max reps as possible, like running. Lightweight, baby. Just load it up and go. But again, another great exercise, front squats. Loading it up, hitting high reps. Hit 20 reps, 25 reps, 35 reps. Working on that mobility. The stronger you are through an entire range of motion, the stronger your overall structure will be. Understand, muscle, technique, form, all that breaks down at the point of weakness. If you can strengthen your range of motion as deep as possible and as thorough as possible, the stronger you will be and the less likely you have a chance for breakdown. All right? So when you're looking at it, again, can't do a front squat for whatever reason, great way to do it is that. And then the other option you have is getting a front squat harness. You kind of You kind of lose some of the benefits of the upper back improvement, but at the same time you don't, because you still have to keep that upright, chest upright, tight abdominal wall. So that's also a really good way to do it. It works. It allows you, again, focus on getting in that work. Another one is one of my crazy favorites that everybody hates: Zerker squats. Load the ball up on them hooks of your arms, put it right there in them forearms, tear up some of that arm meat, some of that bicep muscle, some of that tricep muscle, some of that forearm meat. I'll get all cut up on that knurling of the barbell, unless you put a towel or a pad down or whatever, or even if you use a yoke or something, or a fat bar. Um, that's a great exercise to do. It's going to, again, it gives you a lot of those same benefits, especially hitting that core hard, hitting those abdominals, hitting that upper back, hitting those lats real hard. Again, the idea is to strengthen that movement on that same plane, and then loading all those primary accessory muscles that help your back squat. Um, Again, this video is supposed to be about front squat. I'm just trying to give you ideas of what you can do in place of a front squat, because I do see it as a very valuable movement. You just have to find ways to hit that same angle and hit those same strength points, if you will. Because if we can strengthen the squat thoroughly, you know, upper back muscles, the abdominals and core, the lats, then plus sometimes it's a matter of saving mobility. So it's like you can't always sitting up there holding that back squat position. Your shoulders get tired. Now again, front squat works mobility. If you can't quite do the Olympic version, we have the bodybuilding version with the arms crossed, or you could use lifting straps to hold it up. Whatever we have modifications, different things that we could do. But the idea is we want to find ways to get in those positions and then strengthen the movement while changing up from the back squat and trying to impose increased demand as high intensity as possible. Now, the other part that I'm going to throw on, this is going to be the last thing I'll talk about, and we're going to cut this on front squats. But the other part that's very important about front squats, and especially with Sam Bird. Now, Sam could squat, so 50-60% for Sam squats 60-70%. If he's squatting 900 pounds, then that still means he's squatting 600-700 pounds in training on his light day, on his speed day. So that day was still really intense. That's not an easy day for just anybody, you know. Now, so his front squat day is going to come down in weight because he's not front squat. He can't front squat. His front squat max is not what his back squat max is. So him maxing out his front squat is nowhere near as taxing as him maxing out his back squat. That's 100, 200, 300 pound difference some days, you know. Those are big jumps. Those are big numbers. That also means he can recover better and then apply improving his technique, his efficiency, his skill of strength, because strength is a skill we practice and we master. And he gets to practice that on his first squat day when he's fresh, recovered. He can focus on perfecting his technique and making each one of those reps look precise, exact, and perform at the maximal optimal level without risking major injury or major crisis. Then he can go do his front squats, take it to the limit, and still actually be relatively safe compared to, because again, it's not going to be as intense. Being able to manage your recovery and your ability to manage that recovery process is going to be the most important thing in making the biggest impact in your improvement. Because guess what? You can't make improvements if you're injured all the time. You can't make improvements if you hurt all the time. You can't make improvements if you're sitting up on the sidelines waiting to feel better. So you're sitting up there, you're thinking, oh, I need to max out today. Oh, I wonder what my 1 rep max is. Oh, it's been 2 months since I actually maxed out. Nobody cares. Max out on the platform. You're only going to get so many great lifts. Save them for when it counts. Now, if you're just a gym goer, sure, go for it. Plan it out. Structure it. Have fun. But understand, again, You want to make sure that you can see the trajectory of your training, where you're going, and what's going to be the outcome. The more information, data, and consistency you have, the better the ability to determine your success, even before you step in the gym that day. So, I don't know about you, but I'm going to the gym to lose. Every day I plan to leave the gym a winner. I plan to leave the gym successful. Even if I'm doing something where I know that eventually I'm gonna get to the failing point or the breaking point, the idea is to succeed and survive the workout, but leave victorious. That puts that in your mindset. That puts it into your actions. Because every day you're building a champion or you're building a loser. Never want to go in the gym thinking like a loser. Never want to leave the gym feeling like a loser, thinking like a loser, or even anticipating losing. All right? So, that's what I got to say on front squats. If you get a chance, eat some up. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Hey, Maria, Waleska, thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it. I loved your comments. And yep, that's right. It's about winning. And of course, you gotta love those front squats. You gotta love those circle squats. And all the other forms of squats because it's the best exercise there is. And I don't care what anybody else says. Peace out, y'all. Love you.